On the Vikings from being my early season dark horse to possibly being a legit Super Bowl contender. Let's talk football. All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the All Around Sports Podcast. Sports are everything on this channel. I'm your host, Antonio. Today, we're talking about my early season dark horse, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, ever since I said that they would be an early season dark horse, they have exceeded every single one of my expectations. Not only clinching a wild card berth, and not only being a team in the division right there neck and neck with the Lions, but possibly the number one seed of the NFC if they can win the division. But the question is surrounding the Vikings, are the Vikings legit Super Bowl contenders? Now, I might sound a little bit off because I'm currently dealing with a little cold right now, so I might sound a little cracky in my voice. So I apologize for that in advance. But man, the Vikings have been by far one of the best teams in the NFC. Of course, they got two games remaining against the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions that can really determine the entire division. So, before we get started, if you guys do enjoy this video, please be sure to do me a favor and smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. For now, let's talk about the Vikings. So, the Vikings. When I said I had them as an early season dark horse, I was expecting JJ McCarthy to start. But Sam Darnold, this man has been unbelievable throughout his years. And this year has been by far his best year on record. Let me go over some stats here. He has had a 67.2 completion percentage, 3,776 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and a QBR rating of 105.4. This guy, Sam Darnold, has by far surpassed every expectation that he has had. Because the Vikings, they have been by far one of the most scariest teams in the NFC. You got weapons around him like George Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson. This guy, this team is, I believe, a Super Bowl contender because we look at the Lions right now, they're banged up to no its end. And the Eagles, they just lost to Washington, which pretty much probably knocked them out of the number one seed contention. Let's say the Vikings do win out. If they do win out and beat Green Bay, which they've split with for the last few years, they would be in contention for the number one seed if they could beat the Detroit Lions in Detroit. But that game is obviously going to be a really good game. I do expect it to be a really close game. But I think right now, just looking at this NFC picture, I would say right now that the early NFC Championship game I would have as a matchup, Lions versus Vikings. That would be an amazing NFC Championship game. I believe it will be really close. The defense of Minnesota has been amazing throughout the years. And looking at the early game against my Seahawks at the beginning of the season, I knew that game was going to be a battle. I just did not expect Minnesota to be as good as they are. Because I projected them at the earliest season to be at least like 9-8, 10-7. I did not expect this type of team to show up. Because the way the Vikings have been looking, Kevin O'Connell is by far one of the best offensive-minded head coaches in the NFL. It would have been Kyle Shanahan, but we all know what's going on with the 49ers. The Vikings right now are the most scariest threat in the NFC, and they are legitimately terrifying. The Vikings have been able to beat up on some of the better teams in the NFC. Let me go over some of the teams they've beaten. They beat the 49ers, although that game was early later on to be determined a good game because the 49ers would eventually suck as of late, to put it into summary. Then they also beat the Texans. Then they beat the Green Bay Packers. And then they lost to the Lions in the early part of the season. But the Lions were not as banged up as they currently are right now. But then they lost to the Rams, which the Rams won by a controversial call. Then they beat the Colts, then the Jags, and then also along with other teams like the Cardinals, the Falcons, and then later on the Seattle Seahawks. The Vikings, I'm telling you all this right now. You do not want to go to Minnesota because Minnesota, their stadium is by far one of the most dangerous environments in the NFL, other than, of course, the loudest stadiums, which is Seattle and Kansas City. If Minnesota gets home field advantage and gets the bye week, who knows? They might host the NFC Championship game. I'm not entirely sure. But the Vikings, watch out for this team because they are coming for that one seed, and the Lions got to be ready because this Vikings team ain't going to give up that easy. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you guys think the Vikings are a legit Super Bowl contender? Let me know why or why not down in the comment section below. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to do me a favor and smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, I'll see you all in the next one. Ciao for now.